Mike, I don't think that he has been very honest with himself, because he came out of the bye saying that he thought his quarterback was doing a nice job. And frankly, I did not see that. Now, that may be for public consumption, and privately, he's telling everybody that the quarterback must play better. But for him to publicly blame the wide receivers for 28 drops, I think, really, frankly, unconscionable. First of all, that number is wrong. According to ESPN Stats and Information and Elias Sports Bureau, the Eagles only have 16 drops, not 28. So the suggestion that the Eagles had the most drops, which they don't, which is what he said, and that they have 28 is not true. They only have 16, and I think he's trying to shift blame from his quarterback to his wide receivers. Now, I don't think that's the right thing to do here. I think he's got to face facts and realize that he's got to put more pressure on his quarterback to take care of the football.
Sal, I want to get your opinion on, earlier this week, Pat Shurmur volunteered information about Murray being not healthy. Kelly was asked the next day and looked at the reporter like he had 19 heads. Like, what are you talking about? How does it look that these guys don't seem to be – and it's not the first time that they don't seem like they're on the same page with something. Now, it might not seem like a huge deal, but this goes back to the attention to detail and just doesn't seem that things are lining up inside that coaching staff.
I thought it was very, very unusual for the offensive coordinator and the head coach to contradict one another on such an important issue. And, it doesn't speak to whether these two guys are on the same page. So the bottom line is, I think Chip Kelly is trying to protect his two biggest offseason acquisitions, DeMarco Murray and Sam Bradford. He's trying to convince the GM is doing the right thing. And and when you have the GM and the coach being the same person, I don't think that it does your team any good. So that's where we are with these guys. But, having said all that, Mike, it's not out of the question that they would right the ship. I think they can beat Dallas. Dallas has only scored 12.5 points a game in their last 3 games on average. They cannot score at all. Offensively, they're basically dead without Tony Romo. Matt Castle, that experiment from Brandon Whedon has been a disaster. And here's the thing, Mike. I think it's important for your listeners to realize the big picture in the National Football League. And Matt Millen has talked about it. I've heard John Runyon talk about it. I've heard some of the real good, astute film watchers from the old school notice it. Offensive line play is extremely weak all over the NFL. Injuries on the offensive line are replete all over the NFL. And with the one exception, well, it's a big exception, but with one exception, New England Patriots, every one of the really successful teams this year, the Broncos, the Panthers, teams like that, are doing it with defense. And we saw what's gone on with the Green Bay Packers. I was there. I covered that game in Denver last week. Offensively, they had nothing. And when they gave up a lot of yards defensively, they couldn't handle the Broncos' defense. This has turned into a defensive league for a lot of reasons. O-line, poor play. Teams are running the ball the fewest amount of running attempts since 1970. 52.5 per game is the lowest since the merger in 1970. That's a very telling statistic. Teams want to run the ball but can't and have stopped running it. And that really, to me, is a sign that teams have become one-dimensional, and if you can stop the passing game with a good pass defense, you're going to be in good shape. And that's what Carolina's doing. That's what the Broncos are doing. That's what we saw out of the Eagles against the Saints and against the Giants. Eagles should have won that game against Carolina. They should have. If they had any offensive production, they should have beaten the Washington Redskins. No question in my mind. I just think right now the defense of the Eagles has a chance to carry this Eagles team across the finish line and get them into the postseason.
I brought up very similar topics that the teams that I like are the ones that play the defense. That's why I bought into Carolina. I've liked them since the start. They play very good defense, and I think you're right about that. And I think that's why Philadelphia has, even though they're poor on offense. You mentioned one-dimensional. What dimension is the Eagles' offense? Is it a run offense or a pass offense at this point?
Yeah, I would say, let me rephrase that. Mike, I don't like this offense, not a little bit. And if we don't have Jason Peters suiting up on Sunday against the Cowboys, the Eagles are going to be hard-pressed to score 21 points.
They didn't score against this team the last time they played. They added Hardy, and he's got his own issues with all this stuff that's just coming out today, but he's been a terror for 3 weeks. They didn't have Dez the last time. Theoretically, if you're a Cowboy fan, you got two players that are pretty good that didn't play the first time these two teams met.
Yep, no question about it.
So
the Eagles are going to have their hands full. They really are. But the Cowboys can't score, Mike.
Yeah.
They just can't. They can't score.
Well, I was going to say, where does Philadelphia have to attack this team then? Because as you mentioned, they're awful. They've been awful on offense. How do they get it going against? This is a pretty good Dallas defense, Sal.
Well, some people would say, let's take the Dallas offense for a second, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would say, well, Matt Castle can't really do that much, so just play a zone that's deep and keep everything in front of you because Castle can't hit the long ball. Well, I don't buy into that because all you got to do is make a mistake and a guy's running free to the end zone. In my opinion, you have to attack Castle. You have to really blitz him, force him to make mistakes. And on the flip side is I hope that Chip Kelly, Pat Shurmur, and the new quarterbacks coach took Sam Bradford aside this week and said, if you don't turn the ball over, if you don't give Matt Castle and the Cowboys offense a short field, we are going to escape Dallas with a win. And to me, that is the bottom line. If they don't give Matt Castle and the Cowboys offense a short field with a turnover, the Eagles should win the game because I don't see the Cowboys capable of going 80 yards unless the Eagles play a bend-don't-break defense, which I hope they don't do.
We've talked the last couple of weeks, and you've really, and the guys on the matchup show have chronicled Matthews and the difference between him and Murray. What if Matthews can't go on Sunday?
Big problem. Big problem. Because DeMarco Murray is slow to the hole, slow to cut up field. It's a big problem. There's no question about it. I think the Eagles have to throw the ball in this game, and getting Aguilar back is crucial. But to me, this is a game where you really have to get both tight ends on the field, and you've got to use those tight ends not only to run the ball but as a decoy in the passing game with play-action pass. We've seen Chip Kelly go to more two tight end sets over the last 2 to 3 weeks as we've chronicled the changes in the offense, Mike. That's a significant one, and they need to continue doing that.
It's a Sal Pal Friday, ESPN NFL reporter Sal Palantonio here on the Sports Bash. And, obviously they're going to get Kiko Alonso. Looks like that's going to be a big addition for them. What were they hoping from him that we haven't seen yet that he can add to an already pretty good defense, Sal?
Speed from sideline to sideline, Mike. That's the key. That's his calling card, his ability to tackle ferociously, get to the ball carrier, don't let him get outside and cut up field. And, we haven't seen that. With D'Amico Ryan's hurting, it's really important for Kiko Alonso to come back strong.
He has, and it's funny because Ryan's missed the last week, and they didn't stop the run very well. It looks like he might be out this week. And now they got the 4 guys. What do they do when all 4 guys are playing? Is this a good problem to have, or is this something that Billy Davis is going to have to get creative with?
I think it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
What the Panthers did was just sledgehammer the Eagles' front 7. 2 tight ends, fullback on the field, and just hammer the line of scrimmage. I mean, Cam Newton had 3 picks in the game, right?
Yep.
And they still managed to win and move the ball offensively. I talked to Ron Rivera on the phone extensively this morning, and the feeling that I get from this Panthers team is that there's a depth of confidence that hasn't been there in a long time. Now, having said that, and I am shifting gears here a little bit, you mentioned Panthers-Packers. Aaron Rodgers is 13-0 coming off a loss.
Oh.
And 11-1-1 coming off a loss against the spread.
Ooh. They got
That, my friend, is a trend.
I love that game too because, as you mentioned, I want to see if they can do it on defense 2 weeks in a row. That Carolina team, because their defense is very good, and we'll see how.
Well, the Carolina team, they're coming off an overtime game on Monday night, a short week, rain, so
Right.
really beat up their bodies, and they're playing a Packers team that's extremely hungry because they were embarrassed in Denver. It's a tough spot for Carolina. They have an 11-game winning streak in the regular season they're riding right now.
Really is. Hey, Sal, obviously this Hardy stuff just came out about an hour ago. I don't know that you've even got a chance to look at the pictures or anything. He declined comment, but this doesn't look good for him, nor does it look good for the league, right?
You know what? It hasn't looked good for the league for a long time. I just have a zero-tolerance policy for domestic violence on any front. And I was surprised that Jerry Jones signed Hardy. More surprised that he called him a leader. Shocked that they would entertain the idea of extending his contract without seeing him for a full season. And when he got into that sideline altercation with the special teams coach, I was watching the Sunday shows. I was watching Bill Cowher and Bart Scott and Boomer Esiason. And I was watching Fox, and I was watching those guys, and on our show, ESPN Sunday Countdown, to a man, ex-players were just shocked that the Cowboys did not suspend Greg Hardy.
Good stuff. I want to ask you about Dallas in general. If they can't pick up a win without Romo, even if they get Romo back in that Miami game, is it enough? There'll be 2-7 if they don't win one of these two games when Romo's eligible to come back. Is it too insurmountable for them, even if Romo comes back for that Miami game?
Right. So, Mike, the Eagles play Miami first next week, then Dallas plays them, right?
That's true.
All right. So they still have two more games.
No, well, they play Tampa. Their games, they play Tampa next week. Dallas does.
So they got Eagles and Tampa. And
right.
Where is Tampa? Tampa's in Dallas, right?
I believe they're in Tampa.
Wow. So they got to go on the road to Tampa, then on the road to Miami.
Yes, they are at Tampa, at Dolphins, and then they play Thanksgiving Day against the Panthers. And that would be Romo playing on a short week. We saw how that went for him last year.
I got to believe. Well, first of all, I'm picking the Eagles to win this game. I'm picking the Eagles to win 20-16. Low-scoring game.
2016.
I don't know what the over-under is, but it's going to be close to what it is. It's probably about 40. I would say 40-43, right? So I would say it's going to be under, the over-under. I got them winning 20-16. So that's 6 straight losses for the Cowboys. Tampa's playing very well. Their defense is very good, especially up front. I'm going to pick the Cowboys to lose that game. And then at Miami's going to be a wounded team at that point. I got to believe they're going to lose at Miami, too.
By the way, it's 44 is the over-under on that one.
Oh, I wasn't that far away.
No, 3. Philly's 3 on the road, and they've won twice in a row, including last year.
The over-under was 43. So it's 40. Yeah, it was close. So, I mean, I think this is an under game. And I think the Cowboys, to get out of this hole, I got to find a way to get a win on the road in Tampa or in Miami. And, okay, those are not easy trips. It's going to be hot and humid. Back-to-back on the road, then a short week against the Panthers team. But I think this is where the Panthers will struggle. So they might win on Thanksgiving against the Panthers.
We shall see it all unfold. It's a never-ending unfolding story, very fluid, the NFL.
What about the Eagles, Mike? I mean, look at the Eagles. If they win this game, they have a chance to win 4 straight.
I wrote about that at the website. They got this 4-game stretch right now that they can start to separate themselves a bit, and we'll find out if they're for real. They take care of business with these 4 games. I think you could start feeling a little better that the continuity is starting to happen.
Yeah, because Miami comes in and Tampa comes in. And then you can play Detroit, and who knows what's going on in Detroit.
Disaster.
Yeah. So you could win 4 straight if you win this one. And then they would be what? They'd be 7-4?
Yep. Hey, put it this way: you were 9-3 at one point last year, feeling good. I'll take the reverse of that this year if I'm an Eagles fan, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
All right, Mike. I'll talk to you next week, boss.
You got it, pal. Sal Palantonio. Here he is on a Sal Pal Friday.